Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. For any of you here for the first time, I talk about the cargo van business, specifically OTR cargo van business, what we call expediting.
Your hustle gotta be strong in this industry, as in any other industry.
Alright, so first off, what I've been up to. Yesterday I did a little short load. It was 95 miles to go pick it up, 76 miles loaded, and then like 15 miles back to the house. I did that for 225 bucks, got that off of Selectus. Simply trying to make a few bucks and stay home because I was wanting to go out and test drive the 19. Because the 19 got the fluid and the filter changed, and when he changed the filter, he said when he pulled the pan down, the filter was just laying in the pan. He was trying to put the filter back up into the transmission, and it was just falling back out. That rubber seal that keeps it connected up there just was worn out. So sounded all good and dandy, got everything in there. He said it ran well. I went out there yesterday, took it on the highway, and I got maybe 7-8 miles, and it still has a shudder to it. At first it was just when it was still cold and I was driving, it was kind of giving like a little spit where the tachometer at its speed was just below 2,000, and when that would tach, it would just hit right about 2. And then I sped it up more and got it up to 68, and then that's when I could feel the shudder. Now, take it back to him, told him about it. He took it to a shop, a transmission guy. They both agree that it has to do with the torque converter, which is crazy because I just put it in. The transmission guy is claiming that putting in this additive, which I'll add a picture here of the additive. It's a Motorcraft like friction reducer or something, and supposedly add that to it, and that should take away that shudder. Which, I'm not a transmission guy, I don't know crap about transmissions. So what I can say, just where common sense is kind of kicking in, is hoping that that they're correct on this being the torque converter needing this additive or whatnot, or possibly the torque converter that we got just being bad. For one, put the torque converter in and the van ran beautifully for almost a week. Transmission was bad to begin with before the torque converter was put in there. It wouldn't have remedied that. So torque converter start acting up. That's another thing as far as like a red flag, trying to figure out why it would act up eventually, not right away. So that's where we're at with that. But the shuddering, it isn't coming at the switching of gears. It's like I had it on cruise at 68, and it would shudder each time. You could tell that it was trying to give it just give some acceleration to keep the speed for the cruise. And then I noticed it was happening in lower gears as well, same thing, at a speed that you're trying to maintain, and there's a shudder, not at a changing of gears. So I'm hoping that's a good sign, that it means that it's not a deeper transmission issue, that it is something that can be remedied. Another good thing is he's not charging me for anything else that's going on at the moment. Obviously shouldn't. So hopefully they're going to find out that hopefully this additive works. I guess that's the bottom line, is hoping this additive works. I'll know something more today, and that's where we're at with that. So that, to get the pan, to get the fluid and the filter changed, and I had them do a tune-up on it, it ran me with parts and everything like 720 bucks, which, just to put that in perspective, take it to a Ford dealer, the tune-up alone is going to cost you $300. The filter and fluid for a transmission change is going to cost you about 750 bucks, roughly in that neighborhood. So looking at about 1,100 bucks almost altogether if I would have taken it to a dealer. With the 17, the one that's in Tulsa, that one is ready to be picked up. Still has those lights on there, the dummy lights on there for the traction control and whatnot. So, but it's supposedly the drivability is fine. So, and rather than wait for them to get it to a Ford dealer, I'm going to go out there and get it. And the tentative plan is right now, Monday, right now looking for a load that takes me out that way. But ideally, it'll be something picking up Monday or over the weekend, and then get out there to Tulsa, pick my van up, drop that load and everything, and then get loads coming back. deal situation. That's the tentative plan at the moment, and that's the time frame of it as well. So hopefully this time next week I've got my 17 in my possession, and I can give you a better update what's going on with that. You know, I was thinking about it at 17. It's been sitting out there since February 28th. Now, mind you, the majority of the time it's just been setting. That concerns me, because sitting, a vehicle sitting is one of the worst things, you know, for it as far as certain parts are concerned, you know, certain moving parts. Aside from that, also the fact that those batteries, specifically the auxiliary batteries, nobody's been charging those up. There's probably at least a diesel heater control that is probably plugged in and has been lit up all that time, so it's probably drained that battery in this amount of time. So those batteries are probably crap. I did ask the shop if they would crank it up and, you know, make sure the switch was on and charge the batteries up. They claimed they would, but hopefully they did, but more than likely they did not. So there's that part of it. And then just, you know, just sitting, collecting dust and dirt all that time. So I'm sure there's going to be some minor things I'm going to have to do with that once I get it back, but I'm more than happy to do that than to have it sitting in Tulsa any longer. That is for sure. I'm anxious to get my van back and get a driver in it eventually. As I said, I'm going to try to run it for at least a week, possibly 2 or so, and make sure everything's good to go with it, and then I'll put a driver in it, and hopefully we can get back to status quo with everything. Another thing I wanted to touch base on in this video, something kind of important to our industry, the expedited industry, is that the UAW is set to strike tonight at midnight, as far as with Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. So if that happens, that will, I don't see how it doesn't negatively affect our industry, because a large portion of the freight being hauled by expedited vehicles is automotive related. More specifically, the vans. A lot of it is automotive. So there might be certain people hearing what I say right now and thinking, oh, well, we don't do a lot of automotive. We do concert, or we do this, or we do that, or whatever it may be. That may be the case. And what you get concerned with is these people that were relying on the automotive specifically, they're going to go try and get work somewhere. So that means, you know, they could possibly step into, you know, somebody else's specific niche and try to underbid just to get some work. I mean, who knows how it's going to, you know, have a ripple effect overall. Obviously, if these guys go on strike, we've already got a horrible overpriced on our vans as it is, and vehicles in general. This is going to, you know, obviously going to affect that as well, going to raise prices or keep prices raised. I mean, hell, from what I understand, I'm not real in depth on this, but the little bit I've seen is that even if they say they get agreed upon something, you know, they're going to get increased wages in general. So how do you think these businesses are going to counteract, you know, the increased wages? They're going to impact the sales. So that's going to probably affect us as far as our vehicle prices, you know, whether it be a regular, you know, car for your home use, whether it be for a work vehicle, whatever it may be. But there's a good chance it's going to have a negative impact regardless of striking or not. But I believe there's more of a negative impact if they strike, because that's going to stop manufacturing. And for any of you that don't understand, like a lot of the stuff we haul, it might be nuts and bolts or material or sensors. There's all kinds of things that go into the building of the car, and if the cars aren't being built, they don't need the parts that go into it, which means a lot of the stuff we're doing, you know, it's going to affect a lot of businesses as well, obviously. So it isn't just us, you know, expediters or in the transportation industry. There's a lot of people that are affected by this negatively. I mean, the automotive is a huge part of our economy. I'd be interested to know what any of you guys think, that if any of you have been following this pretty well and have a better understanding of, you know, what kind of impact this could have. I'd really appreciate some feedback on it. I'm just giving my layman's understanding of it. Switching gears again, another topic I wanted to touch on. So I spoke with somebody earlier this week, and it eventually led to a conversation as far as wanting to know what his loaded rate per mile was. And I've brought this up in multiple videos, and I was talking about it with somebody else today too at one point. And to me, it's unimaginable how you can run a business, you know, as an owner operator. You're running a business, having your van, and not know your numbers, like not knowing your cost per mile or your rate per loaded mile or rate per every mile, whatever it may be. But how you don't know those numbers, because how can you truly know how well you're doing? Now again, you can keep profit margin if you're keeping track of it that way, however it may be, but you should have a good idea. I mean, you need your rate per mile so that you can compare to if you're needing to make any moves, you know, obviously where you're going to improve upon. And what most pays are based on is rate per mile when you sign on with carriers or work through brokers or whatever it may be. With that being said, we need to know our rate per mile. So how are you going to know if you're going to improve your situation if you don't even know what your current rate per mile is? You know, most guys, when I talk to them and ask them about their rate per mile, it's, well, you know, I usually get, you know, I'll get this going here, and sometimes I get that coming out of here, and you know, and another part of talking to people about their rate is, you know, even if they don't know it, most people are afraid to admit their rate per mile for fear, you know, for fear of getting, say, like, laughed at, like, oh, that's what you're getting, man. I'm getting $20 a mile, man. How the hell are you only getting 95 cents? So there's that as well. It's a hard discussion for people to have, and it's a really hard discussion for people to have truthfully. And to be honest, you know, anybody that's ever talking to me, I'm not concerned about being like, oh my God, what are you doing? Or holy shit. Like, but I need to know if anybody ever reaches out to me and I talk to anybody, I got to know real numbers. I got to know it, or I can't give you any advice. I can't try to help you. Nothing. I just, my hands are tied at that point because I don't have all the information needed. Same thing with, you know, how much are you running? How much are you spending? How much are you in service? You know, there's a lot of things that come into play as to why or why not you're making the money you want to make. I've mentioned it before. If you know how to make a spreadsheet, make yourself a spreadsheet and track things. That's what I do. I track, you know, percentage of where certain expenses go to, as far as my rate per mile, my rate per deadhead and loaded, my rate per all miles, my average load length, you know, average deadhead length, all of those things. If you don't know how to make a spreadsheet and you can't find somebody to do it for you, piece of paper, man. Simple math. Write down your miles. Like I used to keep a small little 6-inch notebook, and each load I would write down my deadhead miles, my loaded miles, how much I was getting paid, and you know, just any information I wanted to add from there. But as long as you at least have your deadhead, loaded, and what you made, bam, right there. You just do the math from there and you'll be able to figure it out. The bottom line is get those numbers, have those numbers, guys, because you need to know them. Rate per mile and your cost per mile is extremely important. All right, that's going to about wrap it up, guys. Another day in the books, and I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will holler at you guys in the next one.
Your hustle got to be strong in this industry, as in any other industry.